Hi everybody, this is Raia Meister and today we are going to be going over the absolutely fantastic online app Pixlr, which is very similar to Adobe Photoshop, except it's free and you do not have to pay the $20 to $50 a month for it like professionals. So for the sake of this, we're going to be doing the advanced Pixlr editing software, and we are going to be uploading an image. It's a figure drawing image that I created years ago when I was an undergraduate student, and adding some color to it. So we're selecting the image. Alright, so we have the image in the advanced photo editing software, and if you are familiar with Adobe Photoshop, this looks very similar to the interface of Photoshop. You have your layers section to the right, which is where you have the ability to add different dimensions in your image. You have over here the height and width of the image that you selected. And then on the left side, you have your toolbar. Now, this is really helpful. You have things on there like the lasso selection, the wand selection, which does colors, which is my personal favorite selection tool in the entire Pixlr interface. You have the cut and paste option, you have the masking option, so you have the crop option, you have the clone stamp tool, which is super cool and an easy way to duplicate pixels. You have dodge and burn, which is a lightening and darkening mechanism. You have the eraser, which is pretty self-explanatory. You have a frame option, you have a text option, you have a selection tool, which also helps with primarily color selection and color identification based off of hex codes, which is incredibly important if you are a designer. On the top, you have items like file, edit, etc., which you have in pretty much all of your image editing software. It does very similar things to Photoshop, except it's free, mercifully. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the wand tool. And this is just going to show you guys a little bit what the wand tool does. It will take similar colors that you can see in the image and make them kind of just make them disappear or have them just kind of get masked. See, there we go. So I removed the majority of the white. Now, in order to do this, I had to unlock the image that I incorporated into the Pixlr editing software program. To do that, you just go to the layers section and you'll see a little lock deadbolt on the layer that is the background. And in order to unlock that image, you will just double click on that. And that will allow you to make edits to your background. When you upload an image into either Photoshop or Pixlr, you have to be aware that the background image is always locked, meaning it's more difficult to make edits on it. So in order to make the edits that you want, specifically colorization in this image that we put in Pixlr, you'll have to unlock it. Now, moving forward, we are going to ensure that it is unlocked, which I just said, and then I'm going to duplicate this layer. I'm going to do this because I want the layer to have, I want the image to have some dimensionality, and that's really what the layers are for in Photoshop, is for rendering purposes, dimensionality purposes, etc. So I'm going to duplicate that little guy, and I'm going to go over to the colors, and you can see down here I have my most commonly used colors. I do a lot of figurative work, and that means I draw a lot of people, so I have flashy tones in there. You'll also see the hex code. Black has universal hex code, and we're not going to be using much black in there because there's already so much black from the charcoal of the initial figure drawing that I did. But just know that when you do select certain colors, you will get hex codes that are unique to those colors. So it's very important to kind of have an understanding. Also, here's the brush tool that I just opened. So you can see an assortment of brush sizes and shapes to do your renderings. So I am going to be just choosing a brush that is soft around the borders for the time being to mimic the softness of the charcoal for this figure drawing. And you can see I made a little mistake and I accidentally drew on the wrong layer. Whoops. See, even people that have been doing this for like, 15 years make mistakes. It's no big deal. You just kind of got to roll with it. I am adding the colors that I want to the areas that I want, and then I'm going to go back, select a different color, a different flesh color that has a little bit more yellow in it, and put that on areas that I want to add a little bit more sallowness to. Now the color selection that I'm doing is not random. I am doing colors based off of the light source on this model. You can see that the light source is coming from above based off of where the shadows are, so you want to be really wary about that when you're doing Photoshop. Photoshop is really great at editing away certain things that can essentially go wrong when you draw, which happens all the time. And you need to just be aware of where the light placement is, how the figure lays, or whatever image that you're doing lays. Alright, here's some more color selection that I'm doing, and you can see I'm going for a much more yellow tone. And I'm also going to be adjusting the opacity of the brush. As you can see, what I just did is I dialed the opacity back from about 50%, which will make the color a little bit less aggressive and will let the other colors that I put down first shine through. So there's not really going to be any competition or question as to where my light source is. Again, back to the light source. Adobe Photoshop and Pixlr are both very, very good about this. One thing I will alert you to is that when you are making certain adjustments in Pixlr, you will have to use, instead of, I run on a Mac because I'm an artist and Macs are notoriously arts based. So when you do your commands, instead of doing the command copy, you actually need to do control copy, because otherwise, if you do command copy, since Pixlr is a browser application, you will get a different result, and you'll sometimes have something go wrong with your browser. So you'll always want to do control copy, control Z for undo, control X for cut, etc. Control A for select all. This is so important to be aware of, because otherwise you might get kind of a messed up image. Alright friends, so when you are done, you're just going to go to the File option and download it by clicking Save, and you can select the name and you're good to go. Alright guys, thank you so much. Have a great day. We are ready to rock and roll. Bye guys.